Hi, I want to start off today by asking a question. Have you ever been curious about why you feel drawn to a particular place or person or pattern, and when it flies in the face of what you actually desire? I want to talk a little bit about that today, and I want to frame it as a bit of an extension on yesterday's video. So yesterday's video was on shadow work. And because of that, because it's a bit of an extension today, I wanted to see if I can try to link that video at the end of this one. If it's not there though, it'll be really easy to find. It's right underneath this video in the list. But with shadow work, the way that I frame it and the way that I discussed it in the video yesterday is that an easy entry point into that work is to think about something that recently annoyed you, about someone else or a situation, and then to see that as a mirror that's reflecting an aspect of yourself back at you, an aspect of yourself that you could use some healing or reflection at least. Um, Instead, these situations where we feel drawn towards something, I want to call shimmer work, where we get curious about the patterns that we feel like we really feel magnetized toward, as opposed to feeling the desire to push away. Very similar, though, right? It is a bit of another type of portal into deeper understanding about ourselves and aspects of ourselves that hold wounds for us, like parts that sometimes have their own goals and their own fears that we might see as different than our own goals and fears. Parts can really make us feel conflicted on the inside because we'll say things like, well, part of me really wants this, but the other part of me really wants that. And people reference that fact all the time, that inner battle. In parts language, we like to think of that as two separate parts of you that actually do have different kinds of fears and goals and desires. And if you in your core center are not driving the bus, and one of them is, you might act on those pulls in different directions at different times and be a little baffled by it. So what I'm going to call shimmer work is a really great opportunity to catch yourself doing that and to reflect and to make adjustments if you need to. And I want, or do whatever work that is pertaining to that. And I want to give an example that recently showed up in my own life, just because I think it's a really powerful one, although a little embarrassing. So this is a little bit of a um, a little vulnerable, but I'll go ahead and go there. This is what these videos are all about, really. There is a performer a singer, famous and all that, who feel really drawn toward. Unusually, it's sort of like, it's not just that I like them or think that they're great at what they do, although I do think that. It's that there's something stronger. It's sort of like a fascination with, like, all the details, like the way they carry themselves, and the way that I know that they're really great at leadership, or the way that, like, all the little facts that I've learned along the way have just made me, like, really has made this person seem really compelling to me, but not in the usual way. So, and I'm not someone who usually feels that way about, like, celebrities. I'm not someone who's like, I might say, oh, I really like this actor or whatever, but it's never like a magnetized sense where it's like, oh, I'm kind of fascinated by this person. I've never really experienced that, or at least not in a long time. So I was really curious about this, but especially because there was a little ribbon of sadness in my fascination, a little ribbon of like emotionality, a little emotional quality to when I would see videos of them performing. And that made me really curious, because the whole situation is very unique for me. So I decided to sit with it and just get curious, like you do for shadow work. It's just about, like, getting self-reflective. You can do some journaling, or you can just quietly sit with yourself and think about, like, what is this really about? And let your body and let your intuition and your knowing start to speak with you, to start to tell you what it is that is this little awareness is trying to show you, what it's trying to communicate to you. And the minute that I really tried to sit with this, I got a knowing. I knew pretty quickly what this was about. And what came to mind for me is a photo that I have of my late husband when he was younger. And I see it a lot in my photo albums and stuff like that on my phone. So that photo image popped in my mind, and I realized, wow, um, they are similar. Like my younger late husband reminds me of this person. And not that they look alike necessarily, but in their aura, in their personality traits, a little bit in terms of like how they carry themselves. But it's enough of an overlap where it explains the nostalgia, it explains that ribbon of sadness, of emotionality, and the draw, this fascination with, right? But I would not have predicted that. I would not have, if you had asked me, why do you really like that artist or whatever, I'd be like, I don't know. There's something about him, right? There's something about him. And once I recognized that, what I realized is, while I've done a lot of grieving over the past few years, in terms of my husband's passing, I've mostly grieved like the older version of him, the version of him that I knew when he passed away. I hadn't really done a whole lot of grieving of who he was when we met, who he was early in our life. And and what I didn't realize is that there was a lot of grief tied up in that I hadn't really been aware of, that I hadn't ever thought to look at. But the moment that I cracked that egg open, there was a flood of emotion waiting for me there. A flood of emotion and a lot of desire to storytell to my kids about what he was like then, and that they would have really liked him. They would have thought he was a really cool guy. Um, and it ended up being really therapeutic and healing. And all of this to kind of point out that if I hadn't gotten curious about what that draw was, I would have just sort of blown it off and thought, well, I must really think he's a great performer, and just moved on. But waiting for me in that shimmer, that shine that I see around him, that pulls me in, right? That magnetism is an opportunity for healing for me that I didn't even know was there. And let's say that he was a real person in my world. I could have easily thought that I had a crush on him or wanted to pursue a relationship with him. And it would have been based not on who he is, it would have been based on my wound. And I think that's super common. I think it's super common for people to find themselves in situations where they're making a decision based on what they think is a really compelling um, like opportunity or option, when really it might be getting fueled by a wound that simply wanted your attention and needed your time and energy to heal it. And in the process of doing that, or on the heels of doing that, you might find that you're actually compelled toward something completely different that is actually more in alignment with reality, right? And this reminds me a little bit of what people call limerence. So with limerence, it's a term commonly used in the dating world, where when you meet somebody and you haven't known them for long and you feel a strong energetic pull toward them and kind of like romanticize the situation way too soon. That's often called limerence, and when I feel like this perspective really explains what limerence is. When people experience limerence and they don't know that they're experiencing it, they will think that the strength of their feelings is because this was meant to be, or there's something magical or mystical about it. But the magic might simply be that this person is reflecting back at you an aspect of your own healing that's looking for your attention. And that once you pour your attention into that aspect of your healing, you would be drawn towards someone completely different. And it would feel real. It would feel more in alignment with what it is you're looking for in a person or partnership or relationship. And I don't want to limit this to people. We can actually like have a shimmer around a career path, for example. If there, let's say there's a wound around like I need to be admired, right? I need to be people to respect me. And so that leads oftentimes people down career paths that are completely out of alignment with their interests. Like, oh, I'll have to be a lawyer when they don't even like law, or I must be make a lot of money and pursue I don't know, whatever, like be an accountant, like so I can my dad can approve of my career path or whatever, when there's no interest in math or accounting work, right? Super common, super common. And these are choices that people will make sometimes based on these this shimmer effect that end up occupying huge chapters of people's lives, where they end up in a career or end up in a relationship that they spend a lot of time and try to work on, only to realize that it was never in alignment for real. It was being pursued out of a wounded place. And so, in order to prevent that as much as we can, I feel like shimmer work, for lack of a better phrase, is super powerful. What are you drawn to? What are you drawn to in ways that don't really make the most sense? What are you drawn to in terms of a pattern that you know you're trying to break out of, but you're still drawn to it? And can you imagine setting aside some time to get really curious about that so you can learn a little bit more about yourself and to prevent the lost time that ends up occurring when we make big decisions based on um, a shimmer effect? I hope this is helpful. Take care.